Hey everyone, Colbert here. Welcome to another Racial Legends video. Guys, today we have a new tournament pop up in our tournaments tab. I went over, checked it out. I saw it was a dragon tournament, but after a bit, I saw that something was different than our usual dragon tournaments that pop up when we play the game. So challenge rules are back. We don't know what the challenge rules are gonna be. The tournament starts in about 36 hours, so it won't be in 12 hours like usually they introduce the tournament, then 24 hours later it starts. This one is actually 2 days later after it was announced. So it's going to be a special challenge rules active. And with this, I would like to go back to the first ever challenge tournament that we had for Dragon, which was all rares Dragons 20. And with this video, guys, I'm going to go over the top 10 rares for the Dragon, especially Dragon 20, if you want to be maxing out those points. So we don't know exactly what the tournament's going to be, but I think just preparing yourself for having these top 10 rares will eventually also help you in future challenges as well. So let's go over, guys, and check out the rares that we have. You guys probably know most of these already. Of course, we're going to go over to High Elves, and you know the MVP of High Elves. It's going to be Apothecary. Apothecary is just #1 in all the tier lists with the rares in them. He's not a rare, guys. He's not an epic. I think he's a legendary tier champion just because of how much stuff his kit has that can be utilized by your team. So he has a speed boost and a speed buff that can be applied to your whole team. This is a 3 turns cooldown, which is fantastic. He also has a very good aura for dungeons. 21% defense, guys. This is just fantastic in making your team just survive a bit longer until he gets another turn and I can actually heal them. And this is where his heal comes in. He heals the target ally by 35% HP, and this heal can be critical at the 2 turns cooldown. And it's just fantastic, guys. If you have Apothecary as fast as possible, basically whenever you get Apothecary, if you're a starter in this game, just go with speed and you won't regret it. At least 200 speed. Even more is just going to be way better. I actually have my Apothecary with the Relentless set, but that's like a top tier Apothecary, just because he can get extra procs and actually just take a ton of turns, and it's just great. He boosts, then he heals, then he does his A1. His A1 is just attacks 3 times at random. So for Dragon 20, this won't be that amazing, but definitely his heal and speed boost will be useful. So there's no one here from the High Elves that is not Void that I would suggest. Next up, I will suggest a Void champion. I know Voids are much harder to get, even the rare ones, because of RNG, because of how hard it is for us as players in general. Reliquary Tender, guys, is a Void rare champion, and the way that she basically becomes such a good champion, like a top 10 champion for the Dragon, is not because of her decreased attack buff, debuff, because it's on a one enemy debuff. It's not an AoE, but because she has this A2 called Tender's Watch at a 3 turns cooldown, removes all debuffs from all allies, then places a 15% continuous heal buff on them for 2 turns. This is amazing just because of that final boss, guys. If you have her together with Apothecary, your team will be at very good hands to survive both wave 1, wave 2, but also the Dragon, because the Dragon can stun your whole team, can apply a ton of poisons, and that's gonna bear you down if you don't have a way to remove those debuffs or actually kill the Dragon faster than his poisons will kill you. So this is just a fantastic skill. And then next up is Call to Life, revives an ally with 30% HP and fills the turn meter by 30% in case somebody dies that is important for your team. For example, a poisoner, then you'll definitely need a reviver in there, and Reliquary Tender can definitely take that spot in there and help you just survive a bit longer and use that poisoner to take down the boss. So let's go over to the Sacred Order. I don't think we have anybody here who I would like to mention as a top 10. Maybe Mother Superior can go in there if you don't have her, but in my opinion, she's not a top 10 champion for the Dragon. So we'll go over to the Barbarians, where we do have some top 10 champions in here, and I'll name the first one, of course, is War Maiden. War Maiden, guys, it's a fantastic champion for Dragon 20. Dragon 20 is magic affinity, so War Maiden will be all the more powerful in there. She is, the champion that does have one of the only rares that has 100% chance to apply a decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. So 100% chance with the books at the 3 turns cooldown. It's just amazing. This will help you just go through the waves very quickly, reduce your times on that Dragon 20. But also, guys, if that wasn't enough, she also has, a really good A2, attacks one enemy, plays a 50% increased attack buff on this champion, and plays an extra hit if this attack is critical. So this one will actually help you get those War Master procs if you do have her maxed out. But also, her A1, guys, applies a 2.5% poison. So she has multiple kits, a kit to help you go through the waves, but also her A1 and A2 to help you go through the boss. Okay, she won't be your only poisoner, but just because she has this on her A1 means you'll have that additional support, that additional damage just to take down the boss. So the other top 10 rare that I consider good for Dragon 20 is gonna be, of course, Sentinel. Guys, you might have not considered Sentinel before, just because he's a rare, just because there are other rares that have very similar kit. But because he's forced and he's not void, so we're not restricted by void shard, Sentinel is, in my opinion, a top 10 rare for Dragon 20 who is magic. So the reason he is a top 10 is because he has a provoke debuff on his A1. That provoke debuff is just fantastic in controlling the waves, at least for one turn. That's enough. And I mean, you can take this even to 85% or 90 if you go the mastery route, which I don't recommend for the provoke debuff to go full defense. But his A2, guys, look at this. Attacks all enemies, 50% chance of placing a 25% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. This is a rare force champion, guys. He's not void, so his availability is much greater. You can actually get him from a mystery shard and will be able to apply a decreased attack debuff on enemies. This will be huge in decreasing the damage received by your champions, your most squishy champions. And if you don't have the healers that I mentioned before, your life will be way harder. So has also a 50% chance of placing a 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns. That's okay. There's a wave that does include an apothecary there who will heal, but it's fine. I mean, this will not be what makes him a top 10. The decreased attack will make him a top 10 champion just because you need that additional damage reduction. And also, guys, heals this champion by 10% HP at the start of the turn. His heal can be critical. I mean, this is just another amazing stat that this champion can have, just because his survivability is even better. His resist is only for faction creeps, so that doesn't really matter. And finally, guys, for the barbarians, it's gonna be Marked. Marked is another top 10 rare, especially because of her A3. Her A3, look at that, guys, totemic power. Plays a block debuff buff on all allies for 1 turn and a 60% increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns. This can drop down to 3 turns, guys. With the right masteries, you can possibly extend the block debuff buff for 2 turns and make your life so much easier when you reach the boss. And also that strong version increased defense buff on a rare is just crazy good. I do recommend getting her to 60. She can be helpful in other areas, being the clan boss, but also the faction wars, faction crypts, faction wars. so definitely take Marked to 60 if you haven't, and you won't regret it, especially in this kind of challenges when they pop up. If this is indeed another only rare dragon challenge, then she will be definitely helpful in that Dragon 20. She also has an attacks all enemies plays a 25% decrease accuracy debuff for 2 turns. That's okay. She's got oh yeah, I really thought it was an all defense, this one, but she also has a 30% chance of placing a 30% decreased defense debuff for 1 turn on her A1. In the case you don't want to run War Maiden, she can help with decreasing the defense of a single target with that A1 with a good chance to actually apply it. So 80% chance is really good when you have maxed her out. Next up, guys, is gonna be the Ogryn tribes. Ogryn tribes, of course, you know where we're going. We're going to Bellower. Bellower is a really good champion, but he's a void, so I'll quickly go over him, although I do think he's a top 10 rare everywhere, not just the Dragon 20, but all the other dungeons. So he does have a great kit with all of his skills applying a different kind of debuff, and all of his skills are AoEs, so with the right kind of gear, you can actually apply a ton of debuffs, including a stun debuff if you run him with a stun set. So he's just a fantastic champion to have, and he can also be utilized as a campaign farmer after you're finished with this kind of challenge. So he's got a block cooldown skills on his A1. He's got a decreased speed debuff on his A2, And then his A3, he has a decreased attack and also a decreased defense debuff for 2 turns at a 75% chance, which goes to 100%. So this is what I said before about Sentinel. Sentinel is not a void. Bellower is indeed a void. That's why he's so much better. He has so much more skills that can be useful in the dragon situation. But Sentinel is not a void as Bellower and will be much easier to get in terms of mystery shards. So next up, guys, let's check Lizardman. I don't think there's anybody here in Lizardman that does get the top 10. Also here, guys, Skinwalkers, I'm gonna say Naruholan is a top 10 rare for Dragon 20. The reason is not because he is Spirit and he'll get smacked around, but because he's Spirit and he will get smacked around. Guys, Naruholan will get attacked by enemy champion just because he has the bad affinity in the Magic Dragon 20. That means there'll be more chances for him to get attacked by the enemy waves, making him the concentrated effort to kill first. So not only that, he has an A1 that damage increases according to how much HP he has lost, but also he's got a way to additionally apply provoke on everybody else in case they don't decide to go for him and go for your squishy targets. And not only that, he has this skill called Determine, places an unkillable buff on this champion for 2 turns. This is a 3 turns cooldown that goes on for 2 turns. With the right amount of speed, you can possibly have Naruholan have this forever. Of course, you need to get his resist a bit up because he'll get stunned potentially in wave 1 and wave 2. And if he gets stunned, he won't be able to take a turn and actually use the unkillable buff and keep him surviving throughout the waves. So definitely go for Naruholan if you're having troubles in the Dragon 20. He also has a great ally defense in dungeons by 27%, so that's even higher than the one Apothecary has. Next up, guys, I'll be in the Undead Hordes faction. Of course, I would like to say that Frozen Banshee is a really good champion, but in my opinion, she can potentially be a problem in the dragon. Once you reach to the dragon, she's a great poisoner. Her poison will be fantastic for your team. Her A2 is great in filling their turn meter, but the problem is if she doesn't land her A3, her poison sensitivity, then she won't be landing those poisons. Poisons are a necessity to beat the dragon, whatever stage you're trying to beat. Poisons are just going to make your life so much easier in taking him down. So Frozen Banshee will be fantastic in there, but in the case she doesn't get this, your team might potentially go down. So you shouldn't just go in there with the Frozen Banshee and say, okay, I'm gonna beat this dragon down. You should go in there and just try to keep Frozen Banshee alive long enough so she gets her A3 back again. This is a 3 turns cooldown in case she doesn't apply it, so she can start applying those poisons. That's the bad thing about her in terms of being a poisoner. Other than that, she's just a fantastic poisoner. Her poison is the strong version of the poison, so a 5% poison debuff, and she'll also be doing way more damage just because of the poison sensitivity debuff. So a fantastic champion overall. I do recommend to get her either way. Last in the Undead Hordes is Seducer. Seducer is another Void champion. Again, just because of his amount of skills that he has. He's fantastic, but he's Void, so much harder to get again. So he's got a sleep debuff on his A1. His A2 does apply a 25% decreased attack debuff. Again, similarly to Sentinel and Bellower, but Seducer, on the other hand, can also apply this skill. Place a 30% increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns and a block debuff buff on all allies for 2 turns. So this is very similar to what Marked had, but instead of a 60% increased defense debuff, he does have the blocks debuff buff on all allies for 2 turns. So this one is weaker, but this one is stronger because this is 2 turns, but a 4 turns cooldown. Overall, I think he's a great champion. And then if you do happen to also have his Temptress to go in there, then they'll actually have way more skills to provide, like an ally protection and a block damage buff on himself. He also has an all ally HP at 25% if you think you're going to go in there with him in the lead. So finally, guys, we're going to go with the free-to-play option in the top 10. It's going to be Kill, the champion that you either picked and were thankful for it, or you didn't pick and regretted not picking him at the start. Of course, you guys know it. It's going to be Kill. Kill is a fantastic champion throughout the game. In the early stages, he's got a poison on his A1, his default skill, but also a quadra poison on his A3, so can attack 4 times with a 50% chance when fully booked to actually apply a 5% poison debuff. So if that procs all 4 times, he can actually get 4 poisons on the boss, which is just fantastic in terms of damage. Not only that, he's got a great A2 in terms of damage potential for your team to just go through the waves a bit faster. Overall, fantastic champion. You guys know who he is and know why he's so good. I do recommend taking him in the Dragon 20. So this was the top 10, guys. But before we close this off, in terms of the Dragon 20, there are a few champions here like a Spirit Host who could be good here for her. Removes debuffs on all allies, and also the blocks debuffs buff for when you reach the boss. But because she is Spirit, this can potentially bring her a ton of problems like survivability, because she does not provide really much other than this. She can actually heal herself with that A1, but other than her removes all debuffs at a 5-turn cooldown, nothing much can be provided to the team. Also, of course, Cold Heart is great here, but in more end game situations. So if you're just starting out and need a 5 rare team and do not have Cold Heart, it's gonna be an issue. More end game, all rare compositions do have Cold Hearts in there. It's mostly like a 4 voids, 1 rare, 1 normal rare situation. So she'll go in most end games setups. She does apply poisons on her A2, right? Yeah, her A2 applies poisons, and of course her A3 is a top damage nuke. For most players, the Cold Hearts will not be in your top 5 rares team, because you're gonna need a real solid team without Cold Hearts, and her A3 will not reduce the turn meter on that dragon boss. Guys, thanks a lot for watching this video. We're gonna see tomorrow, maybe we'll learn something about the tournament. We don't know already, but we'll know for sure in 1 day and 12 hours what this tournament is gonna bring to us and what kind of challenge is gonna be for everyone else. So guys, thanks a lot for watching this video. Subscribe if you haven't already, and of course I'll see you in the next one. See ya, guys.